My name is Danita McNabb, 35 years old. At my sister Vanessa's wedding reception, right after the first dance, my parents publicly demanded I sign over my $3.1 million penthouse to her as a wedding gift. I said no. My mother slapped me so hard my diamond earring flew off and skittered across the marble floor. "You selfish, worthless bitch," she screamed. "You've never done anything for this family. You owe us this. Give me the keys, or you're dead to us forever." My father sneered. "Stop acting like a bitter old spinster and do something useful for once." My sister just stood there crying while 200 guests watched in dead silence. They thought they had finally broken and humiliated me in front of everyone. They had no idea I had already made the call. And what they discovered in the next 30 minutes would burn their entire world to the ground. If this story touched your heart, please let me know in the comments. Where are you watching from? Your city? Your country? I'd love to connect with you. That morning started the way most disasters do. Quietly, with a phone call I didn't answer. I woke up in my penthouse at 6:30. The Clarendon, Unit 18B, 18th floor, 2,200 square feet of Back Bay sunlight and Commonwealth Avenue views. I bought it in 2022 with my own money. Every dollar of the down payment, every mortgage payment until I paid it off early last year. It's mine. Deed in my name, no cosigners, no favors owed. My phone showed 3 missed calls from my father, Gerald, all before 7 in the morning on a Saturday. That should have been my first warning. I made coffee and checked my email. There was a message from Vincent Callahan, timestamped 11:20 the night before. Reminder: trust documents activated August 15th, 2025. Your 35th birthday. 4 months ago. If family dynamics shift around the wedding, call me. I'll have my phone. I'd known Vincent for 5 years. Since my grandmother's funeral, when he'd handed me a sealed envelope with instructions not to open it until I turned 35. He was her attorney. Now he was mine. I opened my nightstand drawer and pulled out a letter. Handwritten, dated January 8th, 2020, 2 months before my grandmother Catherine died. My dearest Anita, if you're reading this after I'm gone, know that I see you. I've always seen you. Your parents see Vanessa because she reflects what they want to be. Pretty, agreeable, easy. But you? You're who I needed you to become. Strong, independent, unbreakable. I've made arrangements. When the time comes, trust the process. Trust Vincent. Trust yourself. All my love. Grandma Catherine. I folded it carefully and set it beside the framed photo on my nightstand. Catherine Whitmore, 1942 to 2020. She'd built McNabb Industrial Holdings from a garage operation in 1985 into an $18 million a year industrial supply distributor. My mother inherited the name. I inherited the lesson. My phone buzzed. A text from my father. "Call me immediately. We need to discuss your contribution to Vanessa's wedding. This is not optional." I didn't call. Another buzz. My mother, Helen. "Danita, we need you at the hotel by 4 p.m. Early. Don't be late. This is about family. It's important." I knew what that meant. In my family, family was always a weapon. It meant, do what we want, or you're selfish. Sacrifice what you have, or you're ungrateful. Erase yourself, or you don't love us. I'd spent 35 years learning that language, and 4 months learning I didn't have to speak it anymore. I got dressed. Midnight blue dress, simple and elegant. My grandmother's diamond earrings, platinum setting, 0.8 carats each, the ones she'd given me on my 30th birthday, 1 month before she died. She'd said, these were my mother's. They should go to someone who values independence. I touched them in the mirror. A 35-year-old woman who didn't need anyone's approval looked back. My phone buzzed again. Vincent. "Big day for your sister. Knowing your family, stay alert. Remember, you hold all the cards. They just don't know it yet. Call if you need me. I'll have my phone." I texted back. "If something happens today, I'll need that folder. Be ready." "Always," he replied. I grabbed my keys, the ones to the penthouse, the ones my parents would soon demand, and left. I need to tell you how we got here. How a family that should have protected me spent 35 years teaching me I wasn't worth protecting. I'm the older daughter. Vanessa is 7 years younger. That age gap meant I was always the trial run, the rough draft, the one they practiced on before they got it right with her. She was born beautiful. I was born serious. She learned to charm. I learned to work. By the time I was 15, the family narrative was set. Vanessa was the star, and I was the stagehand who should be grateful for the job. I remember Thanksgiving 2005. I was 15. My Aunt Patricia told my mother how Vanessa was glowing, how she'd break hearts someday. My mother beamed. Then Patricia turned to me. And Danita? Well, she's very responsible. Responsible. That was the word they used when they meant plain, boring, forgettable. I heard my mother on the phone with a friend that night. I love both my daughters, but Vanessa is the one people remember when they leave our house. Danita just fades into the background. I was 16 when I realized I wasn't going to fade. I was going to build something so solid they couldn't ignore it. I went to Boston University on a full academic scholarship. I worked 2 jobs, 15 hours a week at the campus bookstore, 10 hours tutoring business students who had the money I didn't. I graduated in 2012 with a finance degree, honors, and 0 debt. My parents missed my graduation. They'd planned a vacation to Aruba for Vanessa's 15th birthday. My grandmother Catherine came instead. She took me to dinner at Legal Seafoods and said, "They're fools, but you'll never be dependent on fools. That's worth more than applause." Vanessa went to Suffolk University 3 years later. My parents paid her full tuition, $45,000 a year. She partied. She struggled. She dropped out junior year. They paid off $60,000 in expenses without question and threw her a finding yourself party. When I'd asked my father for a $500 loan to buy professional clothes for job interviews after graduation, he'd said, "You have scholarships. Figure it out. We're paying for Vanessa's education." "She's not even in college yet," I'd said, "and when she is, we'll support her. You've always been independent. You don't need us." That was the pattern. I didn't need them because I'd learned not to ask. And because I didn't ask, they convinced themselves I didn't need anything. But my grandmother saw it. She'd pulled me aside at monthly lunches, teaching me about investing, ownership, business structure. In 2018, over coffee, she'd said, "Your mother married your father and forgot how to fight for herself. Don't make that mistake, Danita. Build something that's yours. Not given by a man, not borrowed from family. Yours. Own it outright, and no one can take it." I'd asked her, "Is that why you kept the company in your name even after Dad started running it?" She'd smiled, sharp and knowing. "Gerald runs operations. I own the structure. Never confuse management with ownership." I didn't understand then. I do now. Catherine died in March 2020. The funeral was small. COVID restrictions were just beginning. But even at her memorial, my parents' first concern was the estate. The will reading happened over Zoom on March 25th. Vincent Callahan, her attorney, read the terms. "I bequeath 40% of voting shares of McNabb Industrial Holdings to my daughter, Helen McNabb. Liquid assets totaling $4.2 million shall be distributed as follows." He paused. "The remainder of the estate, including additional shares and property, is held in trusts and corporate structures per separate documentation, to be disclosed per specified terms." My parents assumed remainder was minor. They focused on the $4.2 million in cash and the 40% of shares. My father had been CEO of McNabb Industrial since 2005. He figured he and my mother were set. After the Zoom call ended, Vincent pulled me into a private breakout room. He handed me a thick manila envelope, sealed, labeled in my grandmother's handwriting. "For Danita. Open August 15th, 2025. Your 35th birthday," Vincent said. She left instructions. "Open it that day and contact me immediately." I kept that envelope in my nightstand for 5 years, and on August 15th, 2025, I opened it. Inside was a 10-page handwritten letter and a legal summary. The letter said, "By now you're 35, old enough to handle what I'm giving you. Not just money, power. 60% of the company. Your mother has 40, but you control decisions." I excluded Gerald intentionally. He's a competent manager, but a weak man who lets ego drive him. He'd sell the company, squander it, use it as collateral for his image. You won't. Use this power wisely. Protect what I built, and protect yourself. Because when they realize what you have, they'll come for it. Don't let them take it. Don't let them make you small. I love you more than they'll ever understand. 60%. Controlling shareholder. And my father, the man who'd run the company for 20 years, had 0 shares. He wasn't an owner. He was an employee. I called Vincent the next day. We met on August 20th. "How long can I keep this quiet?" I asked. "Until you choose to reveal it," he said, "or until they attempt a transaction requiring shareholder approval, whichever comes first." "And if they try something?" He'd smiled. "Then you'll have all the power, and they'll have none." The perfect position for someone who's been underestimated her entire life. I decided to wait, to watch, to see who they really were when they thought I had nothing. It took them 4 months to show me. I arrived at the Copley Plaza Hotel at 4 o'clock. The lobby was all marble floors and gilded fixtures, the kind of old Boston elegance that costs a fortune to rent. The wedding coordinator met me with a clipboard. "Are you with the McNabb Winters wedding?" "Sister of the bride," I said. She brightened. "Oh, wonderful. The family suite is upstairs if you'd like to." "I'll wait here, thanks." I could see the ballroom from the lobby. Venetian style, 8 crystal chandeliers, 200 place settings. My parents had spared no expense, $85,000 for this wedding, and they'd mentioned the cost to me at least a dozen times, as if I owed them for their choices. I spotted my father at the hotel bar. 4 men in suits clustered around him. I recognized one immediately, Theodore Winters. Late 50s, silver hair, expensive watch. Andrew's uncle, CEO of Winters Capital Group. My father was gesturing, persuasive, confident. The men glanced across the lobby at me. One of them said something. They laughed. I moved closer, pretending to check my phone. "So that's the older sister?" Theodore Winters asked. "The one you mentioned?" My father's voice dropped. "But not enough. Yes, she'll come around. Family always does when it matters." "And if she doesn't?" "She will. She's always been manageable." My phone buzzed. "Vincent. Friendly reminder. Gerald's LOI with Winters Capital expires tomorrow. If he tries to close without your approval, the transaction is void. Stay alert." I texted back. "He's here, with Theodore Winters, right now. Interesting. Call if you need me." I walked past the bar toward the restrooms. That's when my Aunt Patricia intercepted me. "Danita!" She was loud, enthusiastic, performing for the guests nearby. "There you are. Vanessa told me about your incredibly generous wedding gift, giving them your whole penthouse. You're such a good sister. That place must be worth, what, $3 million? I froze. "What are you talking about?" She blinked, confused. "The penthouse. Helen told the whole family. You're signing it over to Vanessa and Andrew so they can start their marriage in a beautiful home. It's so generous, especially since you can just, you know, find another place." She lowered her voice. "I mean, you don't have kids or anything tying you down. Fresh start." My stomach dropped. "Aunt Patricia, there's been a misunderstanding. I haven't agreed to give anyone my home." Her face went pale. "Oh, but Helen said she told everyone. At Thanksgiving, she announced." She trailed off, realizing she'd stepped into something. I must have misunderstood. I should go check on something. She hurried away. I stood there, processing. They'd announced this to the entire family, weeks ago, before ever asking me. This wasn't a request. It was an ambush. They'd committed to this publicly. Backing down now would humiliate them. I looked across the lobby. My mother was staring at me. She'd seen the conversation with Patricia. She mouthed clearly, "We need to talk, now." My mother pulled me into a private lounge off the main corridor. My father was already there. The door closed behind me. On the table sat a stack of papers. A quitclaim deed. My penthouse address typed neatly. 370 Commonwealth Avenue, Unit 18B. Transfer from Danita Claire McNabb to Vanessa Ann McNabb Winters. The signature line was blank. My father's voice was firm. No warmth. "We need you to sign this before the ceremony. Vanessa and Andrew need housing, and your penthouse is perfect. It's time for you to contribute to this family meaningfully." I picked up the document, read it. Notary stamp dated today. Transfer value listed as $1 and other valuable consideration. Tax avoidance language. This had been prepared by someone's attorney, not mine. "I'm not signing this," I said. My mother's voice went sharp. "Don't be difficult, Danita. We've already told everyone this is happening. You'll humiliate Vanessa if you back out now." "You humiliated me by announcing a gift I never agreed to." My father stood. "We'll discuss this after the ceremony. Right now you're going to sit down, be quiet, and we'll handle this at the reception." "There's nothing to handle." "The answer is no." My mother's face hardened. "You're making a mistake. Don't embarrass us in front of 200 people." I walked out. My hands were shaking, not with fear, with rage. I took my seat in the back row, exactly where they'd assigned me. Not in the family section, not in photos, just far enough away to be forgotten. The ceremony started at 5:30. Traditional vows, rings, kiss, recessional. Cocktail hour at 6:30. I stayed near the edges, avoided my parents, watched the machinery of the wedding turn. Reception began at 7. Toasts, laughter. The best man raised his glass. "To Vanessa and Andrew, may your marriage be built on love, trust, and honesty." The irony would hit later. First dance at 7:45. Vanessa and Andrew swayed to "At Last" by Etta James. Guests recorded on their phones. Romantic, sweet. I watched my sister in her white dress, and I thought, she has no idea what's about to happen. The song ended. Applause filled the ballroom. The DJ's voice came over the speakers. "Ladies and gentlemen, the parents of the bride, Gerald and Helen McNabb, would like to say a few words." My father took the microphone, and everything changed. "Thank you all for being here tonight," my father said. His voice carried across the ballroom. 200 guests, 200 pairs of eyes. "Before we serve dinner, there's a special moment we'd like to share." He looked directly at me. "Danita, would you come up here, please?" I didn't move. "Danita," he gestured, smiling like this was normal. Expected. I stood, slowly. Walked to the front of the room. Every step felt like walking through water. He tried to hand me the microphone. I didn't take it. "Danita," he said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "As you know, your sister and Andrew are starting their life together. And what better wedding gift than a home?" He pulled the deed from his jacket pocket. The same one from earlier. "We're so proud that you've decided to give them your beautiful penthouse in Back Bay." Gasps, whispers, phones coming out. He held out a pen. "Why don't you sign this right now, in front of everyone, so Vanessa knows how much you love her?" The room went quiet. I said clearly, "I'm not signing that." My father laughed. Fake. Nervous. "Don't be modest. Come on, everyone's waiting." I said no, louder this time. "That's my home. I'm not giving it away." The whispers grew louder. My mother stepped forward. She leaned close, hissing into my ear, but the microphone picked it up anyway. "You're embarrassing yourself. Sign the paper." "I'm not the one who should be embarrassed," I said. "You announced a gift I never agreed to. That's not generosity. That's manipulation." She grabbed my arm, hard. "Sign it, or you're done in this family." I pulled away. "Let go of me. You selfish, ungrateful." "I'm leaving." I turned toward the exit. My mother screamed, "Don't you dare walk away from me." She grabbed my shoulder, spun me around, and slapped me across the face, hard. The sound echoed through the ballroom like a gunshot. My head snapped to the side. My diamond earring, my grandmother's earring, flew off my ear, arced through the air, and hit the marble floor with a small, bright ping. Silence. Total, absolute silence. I tasted blood. My lip had split on the inside. I stood there, one hand rising slowly to my cheek, feeling the heat spread across my skin. My mother was shaking. Her face was red, twisted with rage. "You selfish, worthless bitch," she screamed. "You've never done anything for this family. You owe us this. Give me the keys, or you're dead to us forever." My father stepped up beside her. His voice was cold, cruel. "Stop acting like a bitter old spinster and do something useful for once." 200 people stood frozen. My sister Vanessa was 10 feet away, hands over her mouth, crying. She didn't say a word, didn't defend me, just stood there. I bent down slowly, picked up my earring. The diamond caught the light from the chandeliers. I straightened, looked at my mother, at my father, at 200 witnesses. I said nothing. I walked toward the exit. Behind me, my father's voice. "If you leave, you're out. You hear me? Out of this family." I kept walking. The word bitch hung in the air behind me like poison. As I crossed the ballroom threshold, I heard chairs scraping, voices rising. I glanced back. 3 couples near the back were standing, gathering their coats. One woman, maybe 60, turned to her husband. "I don't care whose wedding this is. We're not staying." They left. Andrew's father, Mr. Benjamin Winters, stood abruptly. His face was flushed, not with embarrassment, with anger. He motioned to his wife, and they relocated to a table on the opposite side of the ballroom, putting 40 feet between themselves and my parents. As they moved, I heard Andrew's mother say clearly, "She called her daughter a bitch at a wedding." The hotel manager was already approaching my mother, flanked by 2 servers. I didn't stay to watch. I walked into the lobby, found a quiet corner. My hands were steady. My breathing was controlled. I pulled out my phone. It was 7:54. I scrolled to Vincent's number and called. He answered on the first ring. "Danita, are you all right? They just assaulted me in front of 200 people trying to coerce me into signing over my property. I need you here. Bring the folder." I could hear him moving, keys jingling. "I'm on my way. Where are you?" "Copley Plaza Hotel, Venetian Ballroom. I'll be in the lobby." 25 minutes. "Are you safe? Do you need police?" "I'm fine," I said. My voice was cold, controlled. "But they need to know who they just hit and what I can do about it." "Understood. See you in 25. I hung up. The hotel security guard approached. Mike, according to his name tag. Former cop, by the look of him. "Miss McNabb," he said gently. "Multiple guests reported a disturbance. Physical altercation. Are you injured?" I turned my face toward the light. The red mark was already forming into a bruise. "The other woman is my mother," I said. "She slapped me when I refused to sign over my home to my sister. There were 200 witnesses, several with video. I've contacted my attorney. He wrote notes. Do you need medical attention?" "No. Just document what you saw and what guests reported. My attorney will want statements." Mike nodded. "Ma'am, I have to tell you, that was one of the worst things I've seen in 15 years here. Yelling profanity at a formal wedding, physical assault. Your parents, they're acting like they own the place, or the company or something." I smiled, small, cold. "They think they do. They're about to learn otherwise." I sat in a lobby chair and waited. My phone buzzed. A text from Vanessa. "Danita, please come back." Another. "I'm so sorry." Another. "Please don't leave." I didn't respond. I took a tissue from my purse and dabbed at my lip. The bleeding had stopped, but I could still taste copper. I pulled out my compact mirror. The bruise was darkening. My makeup was ruined. My earring was in my hand. I couldn't put it back on. My ear was too sore. But my eyes were clear, focused. At 8:22, the hotel doors opened. Vincent Callahan walked in. Gray suit, leather portfolio, another attorney beside him, a younger woman carrying a box of documents. He scanned the lobby, saw me, and walked over. He didn't smile, just nodded once. "Let's end this," he said. My father saw us from the ballroom doorway and rushed into the lobby. "Danita, stop this drama and come back." He saw Vincent, stopped. "Who is this?" "Vincent Callahan, senior partner at Callahan and Drake," Vincent said. His voice was calm, professional. "I represent Ms. McNabb." My father forced a laugh. "She called a lawyer? This is a family matter. We don't need—" "You assaulted my client in front of 200 witnesses while attempting to coerce her into signing away a $3.1 million property," Vincent said. "This stopped being a family matter when it became felony assault and attempted theft." My father's face went red. "Look, there's been a misunderstanding." Emotions ran high. "Danita, if you just come back and we can talk privately." "I've said everything I need to say," I said. "The answer is no. It will always be no." My father dropped the reasonable act. "You don't understand what's at stake here. Vanessa needs that penthouse. Andrew's family expects it. I have commitments." "Commitments?" Vincent's eyebrow rose. "Plural?" "What commitments, Mr. McNabb?" My father realized he'd said too much. He glanced toward the ballroom, where I could see Theodore Winters watching through the doorway. My father lowered his voice. "There's a business deal tied to this wedding. Vanessa's marriage to Andrew solidifies a relationship with his family's firm. If things fall apart now, I lose a $12 million transaction." The words landed between us like stones. "So you're using your daughter's marriage to close a business deal," I said slowly. "And you were going to steal my home to sweeten it." "I'm securing our family's future," my father's voice rose. "That $12 million keeps us competitive, lets us expand, keeps your mother comfortable." "Keeps you relevant," I said. Vincent stepped forward. "Mr. McNabb, you mentioned a transaction involving company shares. Have you filed for shareholder approval?" My father blinked. "Shareholder approval? I'm the CEO. I have authority to—" "You have operational authority," Vincent said. "You do not have ownership authority." "What are you talking about?" My father's face was flushed now, confused. "My wife inherited the company from her mother. I run it. Together we—" "Wrong," Vincent said. "Shall we discuss this inside, in front of everyone? Or would you prefer privacy before your world collapses?" My father stared at him, then at me. I said nothing. He grabbed my wrist. Hard. "You're not doing this. You're not destroying this family with your selfishness. You're signing that deed, and you're going to smile while you do it." "Let go," I said. "Or what? Your lawyer can't change the fact that you owe this family—" "Let go of me," Vincent's voice cut through. "Mr. McNabb, you're currently committing battery in front of hotel security. Release her immediately, or I'll have you arrested." My father looked around. Mike the security guard was watching, hand on his radio. Another guard was approaching. My father released my wrist. Red marks showed where his fingers had been. Vincent's colleague, the younger attorney, was already photographing them. The hotel doors opened again. My mother rushed out, saw the scene, saw Vincent and his associate and the security guards. "What is happening?" she demanded. "Gerald, who are these people?" "Mrs. McNabb," Vincent said, "I'm Vincent Callahan. I have documents regarding McNabb Industrial Holdings that you and your husband need to see. Immediately." He paused. "Shall we step into the ballroom, or would you prefer I announce this in the lobby?" My mother's face went white. Vincent walked into the Venetian ballroom like he owned it. About 160 guests remained. 40 had already left, disgusted by the scene. The ones who stayed were either loyal to my family or morbidly curious. Conversations died as Vincent moved to the center of the room. His colleague set the document box on a nearby table. My mother and father followed, faces tight with panic. Vanessa stood near the head table, Andrew beside her. Both looked confused, scared. Vincent's voice carried without a microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize for interrupting this celebration. I'm Vincent Callahan, attorney for Ms. Danita McNabb. I'm here because approximately 30 minutes ago, Ms. McNabb was physically assaulted and verbally abused by her mother while being coerced to sign over a $3.1 million property." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. My father stepped forward. That's enough. This is a private. It became a legal matter when assault occurred in front of 200 witnesses, Vincent said, many of whom recorded it. He glanced around the room. At least a dozen phones were still out, filming this. But there's something else that needs clarification. He opened his portfolio. Mr. and Mrs. McNabb, you've been operating under certain assumptions about McNabb Industrial Holdings. Assumptions that are incorrect. My mother's voice was shrill. My mother's estate was settled in 2020. Partially settled, Vincent said. What was publicly revealed in 2020 was 40% of company voting shares, transferred to you, Helen McNabb. He pulled out a document. What was not revealed, per the terms of an irrevocable trust designed to activate on a specific date, was the remaining 60% of voting shares. The room went silent. Those shares were placed in trust for Ms. Danita McNabb, to be transferred to her control on her 35th birthday. He looked at me. That date was August 15th, 2025, 4 months ago. My mother screamed, "No, that's impossible. The company is mine. My mother left it to me." Your mother left you 40%, Vincent said calmly. She left Danita 60%. As of August 15th, your daughter became the controlling shareholder of McNabb Industrial Holdings. I watched my father's face drain of color. "That can't," he whispered. "I've been CEO for 20 years. I run that company." Vincent turned to him. "You've served as chief executive officer, yes. But Mr. McNabb, and this is crucial, you've never been a shareholder." The silence was deafening. "What?" My father's voice cracked. "Your wife holds 40% of shares," Vincent said. "You hold 0. Catherine Whitmore intentionally structured the estate to exclude you from ownership while allowing you operational authority as CEO. He paused. Authority which, I should mention, can be revoked by majority shareholder vote at any time. My father looked at my mother. "You knew about this?" "No," she was shaking. "I thought, the lawyer said 40% to me. I assumed the rest was also mine, that we owned it together." "You assumed incorrectly," Vincent said. I spoke for the first time. My voice was steady, cold. "I've known since August. 4 months. Every head turned toward me. My mother's face twisted. "You knew? And you didn't tell us?" "You never asked," I said. "You never ask me anything. You just take, or try to." My father turned back to Vincent, desperation creeping in. "The Winters Capital deal. The LOI I signed?" "Ah, yes." Vincent pulled out another document. Letter of intent to sell 30% of company shares to Winters Capital Group for $12 million. Closing date December 15th, tomorrow. He looked up. "I'm familiar with it." Theodore Winters was now standing near the back of the room, arms crossed, watching. Vincent continued. According to McNabb Industrial Holdings corporate bylaws, Article 7.3, any transaction involving the sale of more than 20% of company equity requires approval from shareholders holding at least 51% of voting rights. He looked at my father. "You hold 0%, Mr. McNabb. You cannot approve your own deal." At my mother. "You hold 40%, Mrs. McNabb." Also insufficient. At me. "Ms. McNabb holds 60%. She is the only person with authority to approve this transaction." Vincent pulled out one more document. "This is a shareholder resolution, filed with the Massachusetts Secretary of State this afternoon at 4:47 p.m. Ms. McNabb, exercising her rights as majority shareholder, formally denies approval for the proposed sale of shares to Winters Capital Group." He set the paper on the table. "The transaction cannot proceed. The deal is dead." The ballroom erupted, not with applause, with chaos. Andrew stood up, his face pale. "Wait. Winters Capital Group? That's my uncle's firm." "Correct," Vincent said. "Theodore Winters, CEO." Vanessa turned to our parents, realization dawning. "You arranged my marriage for a business deal?" My father moved toward Theodore Winters, hands up, pleading. "This is a misunderstanding. We can fix this. The deal can still—" Theodore's brother, Benjamin, Andrew's father, stood up. He buttoned his jacket slowly, deliberately. "Fix it?" His voice was ice. You just publicly battered your daughter, called her a bitch in front of my family. And now we learn you don't even have authority to close the deal you promised us? He shook his head. My brother's firm has spent $80,000 in due diligence on this transaction, based on your representations. He looked at his wife. We're leaving. Andrew. He turned to his son. You need to think very carefully about what kind of family you're marrying into. They walked out. Andrew's mother followed. Then his grandmother, his cousins. 12 people. Gone. Other guests started standing. Business associates of my father's. Friends who didn't want to be associated with this scandal. One man, older, gray-haired, someone I recognized from company events, stopped by my father's table. Gerald, he said quietly, I've done business with McNabb Industrial for 15 years, but I can't be associated with this. He gestured vaguely at the chaos. I'm sorry. He left. Another followed. Then another. By 9:15, half the ballroom had emptied. My mother grabbed my arm. I pulled away before she could tighten her grip. You've destroyed this family, she hissed. Are you happy now? I didn't destroy anything, I said. You did. 35 years of treating me like I didn't matter. Like I was less than Vanessa. Like my only value was what I could give you. I stepped closer. And the one time I say no, you hit me. In public. On camera. In front of 200 people. Vincent appeared beside me. You have options, Ms. McNabb. Criminal charges for assault and battery. Civil suit for attempted theft via coercion. Restraining orders. He paused. Or you let them live with the consequences they've created. The video evidence exists. The business fallout is already happening. The social damage is done. I looked at my parents. My father was red-faced, sweating, his phone vibrating constantly in his hand. My mother's mascara was streaked, her hands shaking. I want them out of the company, I said to Vincent. You're the majority shareholder, he said. You can remove executives, restructure management, install new leadership. I can draft the resolutions by Monday morning. Do it. I turned to leave. Vanessa was sitting alone at the bridal table. Andrew was outside on his phone, probably talking to his family. I walked over to her. Vanessa, I said quietly, I'm sorry your wedding became this, but I'm not sorry I said no. I paused. If you want to talk, really talk, call me. But them? I nodded toward our parents. I'm done. I walked out of the ballroom. Vincent followed. Behind me, I could hear my mother's voice, shrill and desperate, trying to convince remaining guests to stay. The chandelier light seemed too bright. The flowers were already wilting. I didn't look back. 3 days later, I sat in Vincent's law office. December 17th, cold and gray outside. My parents sat across the conference table. No lawyers. They couldn't afford one at Vincent's rate. Documents were spread between us. Shareholder resolutions, CEO removal notices, corporate restructuring plans. My father's voice was hollow. You can't do this. I've given 20 years to that company. You gave 20 years to a company my grandmother built, I said. A company you thought you owned. You didn't. My mother tried. She was my mother. She wouldn't have wanted this. Family turning on family. She spent her whole life watching you turn me into the scapegoat, I said. She knew exactly what she was doing when she left me control. My father leaned forward. What happens to us? We have a mortgage. Expenses. We built a life assuming... Vincent slid a paper across the table. You'll continue receiving dividend income from Mrs. McNabb's 40% of shares. Based on last year's earnings, that's approximately $122,000 annually. That's half what we were making. Then downsize, I said. Like I did when I was 22, and you refused to help with my student loans while paying Vanessa's full tuition. Vincent outlined the terms. My father would be removed as CEO effective immediately. The company's CFO, Patricia Chen, a competent woman who'd been there for a decade, would serve as interim CEO. We'd hire an executive search firm to find permanent leadership. My parents would keep their dividend income. My grandmother had wanted them supported after all. just not controlling. But they were banned from company premises except for annual shareholder meetings. I would assume the role of board chair. My father's hands were shaking. And Vanessa? Vanessa is a victim of your manipulation, I said. Same as me. Different method. Same result. If she wants a relationship with me, I'm open. But it'll be on honest terms. My mother made one last attempt. We're still your parents. Doesn't that mean anything? I looked at her. Really looked at her. At this woman who'd slapped me in front of 200 people. Who'd called me a bitch at her daughter's wedding. Who'd tried to steal my home. You're my biological parents, I said. But you stopped being family the moment you valued a business deal over my dignity. I stood, picked up my copy of the documents. Grandma gave me the power to say no. Not just the word, the structure, the legal authority, the unshakable foundation. I paused at the door. I'm using it. We're done here. I walked out. Vincent followed, closing the door on my parents sitting at that conference table, their world smaller than it had ever been. March 22nd, 2026. 3 months later, I stood in my penthouse, the one I'd bought myself, the one I'd kept, looking out over Commonwealth Avenue as evening settled over Boston. So much had changed. McNabb Industrial Holdings was under new management. Patricia Chen had served admirably as interim CEO through January, stabilizing operations and maintaining employee morale. In February, we'd hired Patricia Donovan, a veteran executive with 20 years of industry experience. She'd started March 1st. The company was growing. Revenue was steady. Employees were happier without my father's ego-driven decisions. 2 clients had left, nervous about the leadership change. But we'd signed 1 new client, a manufacturing firm that said they were impressed by our commitment to professional governance. My parents had moved. Their 4-bedroom colonial in the suburbs was gone, replaced by a 2-bedroom condo. They lived on $122,000 a year. Comfortable, but not lavish. Their social circle had collapsed. The country club had quietly suggested they not renew their membership. Business dinners stopped. Charity galas no longer sent invitations. The video of my mother slapping me had gone viral. 2.3 million views on TikTok. 847,000 on Instagram. The comments were overwhelmingly supportive. The way she picked up her earring and walked out. Queen behavior. My parents' names were searchable. Future employers, future clients. They'd Google them and find the scandal. I'd stayed silent. No interviews, no statements, just dignity. Vanessa had reached out in mid-February. We'd met for coffee. 2.5 hours of tears and truth. She'd told me, they promised me a job at the company if I married the right person. I didn't know it was this calculated. Her marriage had survived. Barely. She and Andrew were in couples therapy. His family tolerated her for his sake, but the damage was done. We were rebuilding, slowly. Monthly coffee dates, boundaries firmly in place. She was learning what I'd always known. Our parents' love was transactional, and she'd been a transaction too. Vincent had become more than my attorney. We met monthly. He'd become a mentor, someone who genuinely cared about protecting what mattered. You remind me why I went into law, he'd told me last week. To protect people who deserve protection. On my desk sat 3 things. A framed photo of my grandmother, Catherine Whitmore, 1942 to 2020. The quarterly earnings report from Patricia Donovan. Company growth, healthy margins, a future that didn't depend on ego. And my phone, which buzzed with a text from Vanessa. Coffee Thursday? My treat this time. I want to tell you about therapy progress. I replied, Thursday works. 10 a.m., same place. I poured a glass of wine and walked to the window. The city spread below me, lights beginning to glow in the dusk. People had asked if I regretted it, if I wished I'd just signed the paper, kept the peace, avoided the spectacle. But peace bought with self-betrayal isn't peace. It's surrender. My grandmother knew that. She knew they'd come for me eventually. Not for love, but for what I had, what I'd built, what I represented that they couldn't control. She didn't just leave me money. She left me structure, legal authority, the power to say no and make it stick. The penthouse was never the real fight. It was a test. Would I fold, like I had my whole life? Or would I finally stand? I stood. And yes, it cost me my parents. But I didn't lose them that night. I'd never really had them. What I lost was the illusion. The belief that if I just gave enough, sacrificed enough, erased myself enough, they'd finally see me. They saw me that night. They saw me take control of the company they thought they owned. They saw me walk away from their abuse with a lawyer, evidence, and the votes to end their reign. They saw me choose myself. Vanessa was finding her way. She'd been the golden child, but she'd still been a child to them. A tool, not a daughter. We were both learning what family could actually mean. McNabb Industrial was thriving. My grandmother would be proud. And me, I was here, in my home. The one I'd earned, the one I'd protected. Overlooking a city that felt less lonely now that I wasn't fighting for approval I'd never get. I didn't need their forgiveness. I didn't want their apology. I just needed them to stop, and now they had. I raised my wine glass toward my grandmother's photo. The diamonds in my earrings, the ones I'd had repaired, the ones I wore again, caught the light. My phone rang. Vincent calling about next week's board meeting. I answered, laughing at something he said about the new CEO's efficiency. The city glowed below. I was home. Not the building, not the address, but the life I'd built, the boundaries I'd set, the power I'd claimed. My grandmother had given me the tools. I'd used them to build something they could never take. And that inheritance, the trust, the structure, the belief that I was worth protecting, that was the gift that changed everything. I stood at the window, glass in hand, at peace. Not because I'd won, but because I'd finally stopped playing a game that was rigged from the start. And in the quiet of my penthouse, surrounded by the life I'd chosen, I whispered to the photo on my desk, "Thank you, Grandma, for seeing me, for protecting me, for trusting me with what you built. I won't let you down." The city lights twinkled. The wine was good. And for the first time in 35 years, I wasn't waiting for permission to be happy. I just was.